Hey guys, it's your boy Tosin. Welcome back to another episode of Fleet Footed. As you can see, new surroundings, but same vibe. All Arsenal, all God, all spiritual. Let's get into it. So, I wanted to quickly talk about Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. I strongly believe, I said it 2 weeks ago, and I strongly believe Arsenal are going to win the league. And I believe they're going to win the league for a variety of reasons. Number one being the fact that we started off the season playing in a system which I don't actually think is our best, but we're still able to get results. I know it's Nottingham Forest, I know it's Crystal Palace, but by and large, dominate teams, right? So that's one. I don't think and the thing is, I don't even think we're at our peak yet. I don't think we've even hit like 100% in this new system that we're trying out. And I'm going to touch on this new system. But there's so many reasons why I believe Arsenal are going to win the league. Arteta's using the squad more. I'm just going through this quickly and then I'm going to go into Arsenal versus Palace. Arteta's going through the squad more. I'm going to give more of that in a bit. He's able to make ruthless calls now. It's really looking good. There's just a few things I change, and I'm gonna discuss that looking at the aftermath of the Arsenal versus Palace game. But I strongly, really believe this season Arsenal are gonna win the league title. So Arsenal versus Palace, 1-0 to Arsenal, and you know what? That's a beautiful scoreline for me. 1-0 to Arsenal. I love that scoreline. There's people I've seen already on Twitter. Oh yeah, this, that. Hey, I will take 6 points. From the first two games, I'm taking it. Going away to Crystal Palace, having to play the last, what was it? Last around 20 minutes, if not more than that, maybe 20, 25 minutes with 10 men. And to defend the way we did, to basically play with 10 men at Selhurst Park with the pressure that Crystal Palace were putting us under, and for them to never really look like scoring. They had maybe threatening moments, but they never really looked like scoring. We never looked like conceding, basically. For me, I think that's such a huge win. So many standout stars from the performance yesterday, but number one, I have to give it to my guy, Declan Rice. The guy is such a baller. And this is what I love. I loved seeing him vacuum stuff in midfield, spray the ball. Even the chance he created, like the movement for the Nketiah chance in the first half, he gets it, he moves the ball, he initiates the play, and he actually plays a great pass into the final third for Nketiah. And Nketiah is unlucky to hit the post there. But I thought it was a complete performance by Declan Rice, right? Definitely showing why he's worth that 105 M's. The guy is going to be... And what I loved most was how he was marshalling things in the middle of the park. How he was telling Partey several times to move, where to go, telling him. And I just thought it was such a great performance from Declan. There's not really much more I can say about him. The guy is a good player, and this is what he did for West Ham, and we're going to see him do more for Arsenal, you know? Saliba, what can we say about him? The guy is such a colossus. And it's interesting because I said it 2 episodes ago. Obviously, people are talking about why is Gabriel not playing? Like, what's all this about? Blah, 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 blah. Well, simply put, in this system that Arteta's playing, Gabriel would have to be the main centre-back that the defence is built on. Right now, when Thomas Partey switches into midfield and we've got the three at the back, we've got Tomiyasu, left centre-back, because he can play that left centre-back stroke, left-back role well. You get what I mean. He can play a lot better, the inverted role, a lot better than Gabriel can. And then you've got Saliba as that main centre-back, means a lot of pressure's on him. He's going to need to have composure. He's going to be the last one back. He's got amazing recovery speed. And Ben White can play the whole right centre-back role where he sort of tucks a bit into right-back as well. I am much more comfortable having Saliba there than Gabriel. I love Gabriel. Gabriel's my guy. You know, he's a beast of a defender. I still think him and Saliba are level in terms of ability, to be honest. But I think Saliba just has qualities, certain qualities, specifically his composure on the ball, his recovery speed, that I think put him just ahead of Gabriel. And ultimately, as much as I love Gabriel, who do you trust more as the main centre-back, marshalling that whole left centre-back and that right centre-back, as well as Partey and Rice just ahead of them? It's Saliba. but he had a great, fantastic game yesterday. I don't know about all of this best centre back in the world nonsense. I don't think he's the best centre back in the world yet, but he's getting close to them levels. I don't think Saliba's better than the Ruben Diaz. Um, I think he's better than Gvardiol. I would say I've not really seen much of I've not seen much of Gvardiol for Man City. I know he's a beast. I know he's a tank. But I've not really seen much of him. I can only go by what I've seen, and right now I think I put Saliba ahead of him. Um, I'm Varane. It's questionable. You know, it really is questionable now. Varane's getting older. Old Varane. Sorry, not Varane. Old Varane, maybe, but Saliba's. I mean, best in the world actually might not be too bad a shout. He's touching them levels. The guy's really, really good, right? And so I saw a lot of complaints about Gabriel not starting. The truth is, guys, this is actually good. And the funny thing is, Arsenal fans, this is good. Like, Arteta's using the squad. he's been saying it in his in his pre-match conferences and his post-match conferences. He's been saying how different teams are going to play, different systems and different teams are going to play depending on the opposition. This is what you want to hear. Like, he's going to, like, don't get it twisted. Gabriel's going to play a lot of matches. He's going to have his part to play. He came on and he played his part when we needed grit, when we needed that determination, that doggedness. That's what you bring in, you know? And this is what I actually like. I like that Arteta's using the squad more. This is what happens when you have squad depth. Accept it. Like, I don't get it. People, like, your best players aren't always going to play all the time. Like, they're not going to play all the time. Look at Man City last season. At the start of last season, Ruben Diaz, yeah, he was injured, but even when he came back from injury, he weren't getting that many games at some point. Then he came back into the team. Kyle Walker wasn't playing that many games. Then he came back into the team. Even Bernardo Silva, when his head was gone. Like, these are big stars that weren't playing like week in, week out for Man City. But Pep rotated, kept his team fresh. And at the business of the season, what did they do? They dominated and they steamrolled teams. So I like it. I actually think this is Arsenal evolving as a team. And I think we as fans just got to embrace it. We can't get insecure. I mean, like, that Gabriel doesn't look like he's squirming or he's threatened. The guy looks hungry, he looks tenacious. This is what we want to see. It really is. I'm happy about it. The only thing I'd say about, like, what's going on at the back, Ben White, the guy's such a baller, looks good. Right centre back looks good. Right back. Only thing I say sometimes with White, and he did it when what's his name, Tyrick Mitchell got in, and it's in the second half, and he just backed off him, and he did the same thing against Nottingham Forest for the goal. There's times where you just think Ben White should just he almost gets caught in two minds. He just needs to go in and commit, win that tackle, just go in and trust that your players are going to sweep up after you. So I want to see him do that a bit more. But all in all, I think he's been great. The only thing I'd say about this system, and though Partey's been good, I think offensively, we're dominating teams. And the truth is, we're not creating as many chances as we did towards the start in the games we were playing at the start of last season. But one of the things I see that's going good is that we have a lot more control of these games. I know it's Nottingham Forest, and I know it's the caveat Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace. But what about Man City? Man City, I would say, dominated us for the first 15, 20 minutes of Community Shield. But from that point on, we took over the game. We took over it. So, I mean, and I think this whole defensive shuffle was only happened because Urian Timber got injured. I'm pretty sure if Timber didn't get injured, I think Gabriel would be playing. But it just goes to show you the tactical flexibility of this team, that we could lose such an important player, and Arteta's been able to find a way which sort of actually helps the team continue to play that same system of fitting in all of those offensive players, keeping as much possession, fluidity in the team, but it just means Gabriel's the casualty. Yeah, so we're evolving as a team. This is good. Yeah, the only thing I'd say that can be a bit hit and miss is the Thomas Partey. He had a good game. I thought he had a really good game, actually, playing in the inverted right back role. It's just that when Ben White's not there, the link up between him and Saka on that right hand side isn't really the same. And I know Ødegaard and Saka like to combine and whatnot, but really and truly, you think about it, Ødegaard, Saka, and Ben White, that combo, it causes problems. Saka's still going to bang. He's still going to do dirt. But I think it takes away from us offensively when you have Ben White being the one making those overlapping runs. Like, Thomas Partey made runs into those areas and those channels, but he's not going to do them as much as Ben White, and I don't expect him to, right? He's going to spend most of his time coming inverted into that midfield role and trying to dictate play with Declan. So overall, we're evolving as a team and it looks good. Havertz, he's still loading. Havertz is still loading. He's not been bad. Against Man City, I thought he played good. Against Nottingham Forest, I thought he played average. And against Crystal Palace, I thought he played average, right? I think the criticism of him is harsh. It's only like, I get it. Arteta's essentially changed this whole system to sort of get him and shoehorn him into the team. So there's going to be criticism. The truth is, as much as I'm a fan of the Havertz signing, I think he's going to come good. He does work hard off the ball. He does bring that extra bit of physicality. He does press well, he does. And when it was a backs to the walls performance against Crystal Palace, he did his job. But I just think Arteta doesn't really need to force it with him. I think, and it makes it, and the fact that Trossard is playing well, the fact that you got guys like Emil Smith-Rowe who are hungry to play, it makes it I think it puts a bit more pressure on Havertz, because it's like, Arteta, I trust the gaffer, but I just don't feel like he needs to force it with Havertz. I think he's still finding his confidence. Just, bro, like, let him build it up. He's gonna, like, it's a long season. Like, bro, you will play him. He's gonna get games. You don't have to force it now, especially when he's not impacting the game as much as I know he can. Because the guy's got obvious quality on the ball. He's got it. I don't care what anyone tells me. Havertz has got quality. What I want, I'm just waiting to see it. So I don't think that fans should be overcompensating, saying, "Oh, Havertz is, great performance. I'm seeing great performance by Havertz. Exactly what Arsenal need. No. Pressure off the ball. Yeah, that's good, but like, guys, he's playing a number two. We're essentially giving him a Mesut Ozil role. Like, we've not done this in donkeys. Like, we have to remember, Arteta kicked Ozil out, right? And obviously, Havertz is different to Ozil. He's similar but different in that he definitely presses more than Ozil, and he's definitely going to work hard out. He works harder out of possession than Ozil, but essentially, he's got a free role. He's got that number 10 trequartista role. And I'm sorry, anyone who plays in that role, you're gonna need, like, people are gonna be looking at you for, if not assists and goals, at least then the second assist. Like a Rosicky type of, like, you're playing the second assist. You're making things happen. You're essentially allowing the team to tick. And I'm not seeing Havertz impose himself to that extent yet, but I think he will. But it's just gonna take some time. But I'm not gonna sit here and overplay average performances, nor am I gonna sit here and overhype average, like, not overhype, but like completely like condemn and criticize the guy for just average. He's not the only player that's been average. Odegaard has been okay. Saka's been okay. He scored a great goal against Nottingham Forest, but he was okay. There's lots of, Martinelli's been okay. So I think he's not the only one. I think we just gotta not have double standards. So far, I like our start to the season. In my previous video, I personally believe Arsenal can and will win our first 10 games. We should. We actually should. There's enough quality in this team. There's enough fluidity. There's enough buy-in to what the manager's trying to do. And there's actually a quick adaptability to the new systems we're playing. So I'm all for it. And then Zinchenko's back now. So I wonder if Thomas Partey's going to play now that Zinchenko. I don't think we're going to see Zinchenko and Partey inverting. I don't think we're going to see that. I think Zinchenko's going to play. And it'll be interesting to see what happens now. I think probably Havertz will get dropped. I'm not sure, but I think he will. And just real quick before I move on to the spiritual point, Nketiah, he's getting a lot of stick. He should score. That's just the matter. He had a good game in terms of off the ball, but that's the thing. It's similar to Havertz. He should score. He really should. Good on him. He got the goal against Nottingham Forest. He had a good performance. He had a good performance against Monaco. He got the goal. He had a good performance against Palace. The only thing that was missing was the goal. So, and you get judged on goals as a striker. So I think Arsenal are on a point where, like, we've got a lot of players with similar issues. Like, they're actually doing the business outside of their main business, which is scoring goals. So I think Arteta's going to need to address that, especially with a guy like Nketiah, who I actually see it as a clinical striker. He's a good finisher, so it was surprising to see him not at least score one goal with those chances. And that's what people moaning about Palace. We dominated them. I'm gonna flex. We dominated them. They're lucky that it was only 1-0. Like we could have and should have been at least 3-0, 3-0 up by halftime. Like we dominated them and we fully deserved the win. They never really looked like scoring. And for all the noise at Sellers Park, we dominated them, shot up shop, and really restricted them. So I was really pleased with the performance. So it's looking good for us so far, and we've not even hit top gear. And now, guys, before I come to an end, I want to touch on something, and it may be a tad controversial, right? So news came out this week about Mason Greenwood, right? About how Man United are going to release him. He's going to continue his footballing career outside of United, right? Now, I don't in any way condone Mason Greenwood's actions. They're wrong, messed up, and he definitely deserves justice for his actions. He got found innocent, and I'm not for his actions. In fact, the evidence, like the audio files and whatnot, it's actually quite damning. I'm not here to condone him, but I am here to talk about a crucial point: forgiveness. And it's interesting because I've seen all the backlash to if Man United would bring him in and blah, 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 blah. I've seen all of that. And again, I'm not condoning Mason Greenwood's actions, but the point I want to, on the flip side, just focus on the point of forgiveness. Why does Mason Greenwood not deserve to be forgiven? Why does anyone not deserve to be forgiven for mistakes? Mistakes that they've made intentionally, but still regardless of mistake. I think, and what I'm saying is controversial, but it honestly reminds me of Jesus. Jesus was a controversial guy. In John chapter 8, verses 7, I remember I thought of this when thinking about Mason Greenwood and all the backlash. You've got people saying, yeah, I won't support Man United if they hire him and blah, 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 blah. And it's interesting because it's like, obviously, I'm not condoning what he did. He's a young man and he's a footballer. He's in the public eye. You ultimately you have a higher level of accountability. But I think about John chapter 8, verse 7, when the adulterous woman is caught red-handed in the act of adultery. Adultery in Jewish culture back then was a massive thing. This was one of the worst things you can do. This is something that would make newspaper headlines in the same way this stuff is making headlines. And the punishment for that was death, right? So this woman was rightly caught cheating, committing adultery, brought in front of Jesus saying, this woman was caught, the penalty is for her to get stoned. What do you say? And Jesus looked at her and then he says, let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. He said that. He said, let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw stones. And it's the same thing with Mason Greenwood. I don't condone what he did. He deserves justice for what he did. But at the same time, are you really going to deny a man forgiveness? Like, he's not going to be at United. He's lost his endorsements. He's lost favor with the public. Like, why are people trying to ensure that a man cannot accept that he made mistakes, accept forgiveness and move on with his life? Why does there need to be constant, vilifying of it? The point I want to make is that I really believe we live in a world where we vilify one type of evil, but we don't have that same standard towards ourselves. We vilify one type of evil, but not all types of evil. If you're going to call out evil that one person's done, are you calling out the evil in your own life as well? Or are you in glass houses? Are you throwing? Is it a glass houses vibe? Are you throwing stones when you're not without sin yourself? The thing, because I really want to deep it. He's a 21-year-old man, right? He definitely made a mistake. I'm not condoning his actions, but how many other 21-year-old men have done even worse things that's not publicized? How many of all the people who are condemning him, vilifying him, I'd like to see what their internet history is. I'd like to see what their track record says when they're on a night out, they're wasted and whatnot. I'd like to see some of the stuff they've done. If your life was put out, if your weekends, the stuff you did in darkness and secrecy where no one can see you was put out, if it was put out for everyone to see, would you be thrown in jail? I believe most men would be thrown in jail. And again, I'm not trying to condone, and women, and women as well. It's not just men, women as well. The point I'm trying to make is about the power of forgiveness. Jesus saw this woman and forgave her, despite her evil, utterly reprehensible sin. So if he could forgive her and he's perfect, what gives us the right to almost deny someone forgiveness and continue harp on and on and on? Same thing was done to my man, David Goodwillie. Now, again, I'm not condoning any of these guys' actions. The point I want to make on is forgiveness. There's a power in forgiveness. It gives the very worst of men and women a second chance. How many times have you blown it and needed forgiveness instead of being hammered? Man, if I had £1 for every time I needed forgiveness instead of being hammered, I'd be a billionaire by now. I make tons of mistakes every day. I'm not condoning his actions. All I want to say is, like, I think that we live in a world where people throw stones, but they're living in a glass house. So many, like, we it's just food for thought. We all need forgiveness. He needs forgiveness. We all do. It's a tough thing to give it, but hey, like, you should only not give forgiveness if you're perfect and you've never done anything. But if you're imperfect and you've got things that you're ashamed of, that if someone called you out on it, you'd be in hot water, what gives you the right to then play chief and Bruce Almighty over someone else? We got to change. So that's just my thoughts on that. That's my rant over. I just thought, it just made me think about that scripture in John chapter 8. It's like, wow, like, a perfect sinless God forgave her, but yet sinful, evil human beings that make all sorts of mistakes can condemn each other. I think we just got to change the way we think and operate. Anywho, that being said, guys, thank you so much for listening. That's my rant over. Come on, Arsenal. I really believe we're going to win the league. If you're a man or woman that's watching this and you feel a lot of shame in your life, you know you need forgiveness, then you know where to turn to. Don't turn to the world. Don't turn to people, because people are just going to hammer you and throw stones from glass houses. The only person you can turn to is God. And you can do that through, like, learning more about Jesus and the Bible. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hope you liked what I had to say today. Please make sure to comment on what I thought. I know it's a bit controversial, but why not? I just thought, let me be honest and speak the truth in love, of course. Please comment what you thought of this video. Please make sure to like. Please make sure to share. Please make sure to subscribe. And I will see you all again next week. Take care.